triple effect here. Are the Steelers the only option left? The Vikings GM spoke today and left the door slightly open. You'll hear that soon, and we'll talk about it. And then even more news to get to as well. With Stefon Diggs signing with the New England Patriots, Drake May now has a new number one. And finally, the Patriots get a receiver. We've been waiting for that. Maybe they'll do more in the draft. So much to get to. We've got Adam Schefter, Louis Riddick, Matt Miller with us today. There's a lot that we'll dive into. And let's get right to the first part of this. Adam, how did this all come together, and what does it mean for the Giants draft at number 3 now?
Well, Laura, the Giants and Russell Wilson had been taught that they didn't want to be a part of that. And they focused their energies on Russell Wilson to the point where over the weekend, the two sides got closer and closer to a deal shortly after the Giants had reached agreement with Jameis Winston. Now, Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson have a good relationship, and I think that was part of this, getting two quarterbacks that know each other, that like each other, that are willing to work together into New York. And Russell Wilson was talking with the Giants, and he was talking with the Browns, and also there was contact with the Steelers as well. But ultimately, the Giants were the team that he wanted to play for. He wanted to go back to MetLife Stadium, where he won Super Bowl 48 as the starting quarterback for the Seahawks, and they make the deal happen yesterday when they work out the numbers and come up with a deal that could be worth over $20 million, including $10.5 million guaranteed. Now, how does this impact the Giants quarterback room going forward with the draft? It really doesn't. They have Jameis Winston, they have Russell Wilson, and if the right quarterback is there at number 3, or they can trade up, they would not hesitate and secure the long-term future of this franchise. But it would have to be the right quarterback. And I don't know whether that's Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, or whether they would even take Shedeur Sanders at 3. But if one of those quarterbacks, clearly like Cam Ward, if he were available and they could get him, I don't think they'd hesitate at all in taking him and securing the long-term future of this team.
Golly, I mean, it feels like Cam Ward's not going to still be there, especially with the expectations that he'd be number 1 overall. Louis, you're our resident GM here. What would you do? Should the Giants now just take the best player available, or should they try to draft Shedeur still?
Well, they shouldn't try and draft Shedeur, Laura, if they don't really like him, if they don't really love him. Let's put it that way. Because, look, John Mara wants to, as Adam is alluding to, the long-term future of this franchise secured at quarterback. He doesn't want them to just kind of pacify him and take someone just for the sake of taking him. So if you don't like Shedeur, and Cam's going to be gone, Tennessee's going to take him. I mean, why wouldn't they? They'd be foolish not to. He's going to be gone, and I think it will turn into one of these situations where they'll take best player available, and maybe they will somewhere try to trade back up into the first round and see if they can get the best of both worlds, meaning they can improve this football team dramatically from an offensive perspective now with Russell and Jameis, while at the same time maybe hitching their wagon to someone else who maybe they love at a different level, meaning at a different draft level late in the first round, and still tell John Mara, look, we're still looking towards the future as well. That's the only way I see this really playing out, because this doesn't sound like Shedeur's their guy. And so I think, I would look for them to go elsewhere when their pick comes up and they're on the clock at 3.
Well, you also heard the Titans general manager, Mike Borgonzi, say that he's open to anything. And so he's going to be listening to phone calls. It doesn't mean that the Giants will be able to make it up to 1. But I expect the Cleveland Browns and the New York Giants both to make calls. And let's see if there's a team that can come up with an offer that the Titans can't pass up. Yes, the Titans absolutely do like Cam Ward. Yes, they're ready to take him. But these teams have 1 month to try to change Tennessee's mind and make an offer compelling enough to move Tennessee, which has a ton of holes on its roster, off the number 1 pick.
I'll tell you what, this for me would have to be like a Mike Ditka style, hey, take my entire draft so I can move up to 1 type of deal. Because based upon what I saw in terms of Brian Callahan down there in Miami just two days ago, and talking to Mike Borgonzi on the sideline, as Cam was throwing, or actually before he threw, to me it sounds like, look, they have kind of really zeroed in on him. And look, maybe they do take some calls from other people. Maybe some teams are that desperate where they say, hey, look, Cam is a guy who we will basically give you anything for in order to get up into that position. But for me, it would have to be, like I'm telling you, it'd have to be, well, just give me your entire draft, and I'll let you go ahead up here. Because why would I pass on, especially after the performance that young man put on? There's just no way I would pass on him from Tennessee. There's no way.
Yeah, a lot to unpack here, guys. Let's go back to the Giants for a second. This is a team that, by all accounts, wanted to trade up last year for Drake May and couldn't. So I'm not surprised to hear they would like to be aggressive again this year to maybe go up and get Cam Ward. I'm with Lou. I don't know that Tennessee is willing to move out of that spot. It would probably take a lot to do it. But let's go back to the Giants, because let's not forget, they went all in on Daniel Jones last year. We're not exactly talking about Bill Walsh in the way that they've evaluated the quarterback situation for the football Giants. This has been Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley. That's the way they wanted to build this team. Now they're on the brink of being fired if they don't get this right. So I think there is a lot of pressure for the Giants to where, if Cam Ward can be attained via a trade-up, you have to at least go down that road. But I feel like this is a contingency plan for the fact that maybe Shedeur Sanders goes number 2 overall to the Cleveland Browns. And you could be, just like last year, sitting there on the board with all the quarterbacks that you fancied off the board because you couldn't move up. So whereas last year they couldn't really secure the back end of the quarterback room to say, okay, the quarterbacks went 1, 2, 3. We can't draft one. We'll take Malik Neighbors. And we could have the conversation that they should have taken Bo Nix or J.J. McCarthy or Michael Penix, who all went in the top 15. But to me, guys, this does feel like a team that's saying, just in case we don't want to get stuck in the corner again, looking at all the teams drafting a quarterback, now we've got a veteran and someone that we could probably win 7, 8 games with, given the current state of this roster.
Adam, I saw you shaking your head no.
Well, my read on this is I don't believe right now, and again, a month ago, I thought that Cleveland was going to be in the quarterback market, but I think that they were going to be there because they like Cam Ward. I don't know that they would go Shedeur at 2. So, which is why we're back to the point of what we do know. The Titans, to Lou's point, absolutely love Cam Ward. I think the Browns do too. I think the Giants like him too. So I think 2, Cleveland, 3, the Giants, maybe even 9 in New Orleans, to make some kind of offer that's compelling enough to move the Titans off the pick, which is not going to be easy to do, which is not what I expect to happen. But let's see how aggressive some team gets and how badly one of these other team wants Cam Ward, who certainly looks like right now he is destined to be the number 1 pick, likely to Tennessee. But we got a lot of time to go and a lot of calls to get through.
Yeah, look, man, the Giants have pretty much, they've covered all their bases, right? They've got a guy who they know is a backup in Jameis. Okay, you know he is not going to take you anywhere that is going to really satisfy John Mara. You have a guy in Russ who still fancies himself as being a starter, who says, hey, with the right situation around me, I can still get you 8, 9, 10 wins, maybe get you a wild card spot. And then there's the draft where they're trying to secure the long-term future. Look, they're in a hell of a spot. They put themselves in this spot, but they're in a hell of a spot right now. And it does seem like, look, everyone is after one quarterback in this draft. And then after that, everyone else is sitting there scratching their head. Well, we're not quite sure. This guy may not have the arm strength. This guy got hurt a little bit too much. This guy played in the spread type of offense down there in Oxford. I'm not quite sure. It's a hell of a spot to be in if you're not Tennessee right now. Yeah. It really is, which, quite honestly, I'll tell you what I would do if I were all these teams. I would look inward to make sure that my developmental program is airtight, that I'm doing everything I can, because you're not going to get the guy who everyone considers to be maybe the surefire number 1 lock, meaning the guy who doesn't have many questions at all, and that being Cam Ward.
Yeah, you're going to have to do some work on whoever you get. And by the way, guys, I love this note. The only team to add a Super Bowl winning quarterback and draft a quarterback in the first round in the same offseason was the 2004 Giants. They signed Kurt Warner and drafted Phillip Rivers 4th overall, who they then traded for Eli Manning. Just really interesting tie there. All right, the Patriots, let's talk about them and what happened with the latest news there. They had nearly $130 million in cap space entering free agency, over $30 million more than the next closest team. That's the Raiders at $98 million. And they made use of it. They signed Stefon Diggs yesterday, which now adds up to New England handing out $194 million in guaranteed money so far this offseason, $55 million more than the next closest team, which is the Vikings at $139 million. Adam, we start with you. How did this come about? And what does it mean for the Patriots now drafting it?
Physical. They got a chance to look at him, talk to him about his knee, the ACL that he tore in Week 8 last year against the Colts. And after that visit, I think there was contact with some other teams. I think the Broncos checked in. I think the Jaguars checked in. I think other teams were just checking in. But the Patriots certainly seemed to want Diggs to the most, to the point where they wound up offering him a 3-year, $69 million contract with $26 million guaranteed. New England got the #1 wide receiver it desperately needed to match with Drake May, who they took with the 3rd overall pick in last year's draft. And now they've added Stefon Diggs, and they've added Mac Hollins, and they've added some wide receivers to go along with Drake May. But I don't think that that precludes them in any way, shape, or form from getting more receiving help in this draft at the right spot, at the right time, if there are players that they like. They have leftover players from last year. They have some wide receiver depth now that they didn't have, but I still think that this will be a team that looks to add even more wide receivers on draft weekend.
Yeah, I think obviously Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels, offensive coordinator up there, are really relying on the medical department in New England to say, hey, look, Stefon will be a meaningful contributor at some point in the 25 season. And number 2, it's going to be incumbent upon Josh McDaniels himself to make sure that, look, whoever stays on the right path, and it's not just, hey, where's Stefon Diggs? Let's just get the ball to Stefon Diggs every week when he ultimately does get out there on the field. So I think there's a balancing act to go along with Steph, even though he is uber talented. There's no question about them when he's healthy. And number 3, I think for New England, this is BPA all the way for this football team. This is a best player available scenario for them, regardless of anything that really has happened with them this offseason, because this is a team that we all know they've loaded up on the defensive side in free agency, and they did a hell of a job with it. They need to continue to fortify the offensive line. They need more playmakers. They continue to need to stockpile players on the perimeter, and I think that's what you ultimately will wind up seeing them do when it comes time for them to go ahead and pick.
Yeah, this is a Travis Hunter team if he's on the board, right? Because they could still use that help at wide receiver. They could use that help at corner. He does both. So he can check off 2 needs at least to some degree. How great would it be for Mike Vrabel, though, if Abdul Carter from Penn State, my #1 player in this draft, somehow makes it to pick number 4, where you could pair him with Harold Landry, who you brought in from Tennessee, and now you have this pass rush in a division where you have to play against Josh Allen twice a year, and everybody's trying to get over the hump that is the Buffalo Bills. Adam's probably telling me it's never going to happen. But if Abdul Carter is there for, that is a dream scenario for Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, Matt, it's not going to happen. Abdul Carter's going to go before the New England Patriots pick at 4. It'd be an upset right now if Abdul Carter made his way to number 4. I would handicap Abdul Carter right now as the likely pick at number 2 today. We reserve the right to change our mind. A lot of things change. But the way this is shaking out to me,
fluid,
it looks like he's tracking to be a Brown, and let's see how it plays out.
All right, so that means this is just today on March 26th. We've got #1 overall Cam Ward to the Titans. Number 2, we've got Abdul Carter going to the Browns. Yeah. Number 3, the Giants.
Lock it in.
Are they Shador, Adam? Are we going to say that yet?
Laura, that to me becomes the most intriguing question now. And I really don't know whether they like Shador enough to pick him at number 3 and go in that direction, or go take a guy like Travis Hunter at that spot. I really don't know the answer to that. I feel quite comfortable in saying Cam Ward is going to go number 1. The Titans plan to hold that pick, but I do expect them to take calls and listen. And then Cleveland, if it can't come up to number 1, and I think Cleveland will call to try to get up to number 1, then I think Cleveland would sit there, and I don't think it would be a quarterback at 2. And then the Giants would be on the clock with a franchise-altering decision to make.
Yeah, and then maybe that does mean that the Patriots end up with Travis Hunter, which is incredible when you think about the needs that they have. All right, this is fascinating. We got a lot more coming your way today on NFL Live. Cam Ward has emerged, as we're telling you, the top prospect in the draft. Matt Miller has these are always a little interesting, but we love to see the comps, and we're glad that you're brave enough to do them. So let's start. Cam Ward is first. Who does he compare to? He's currently playing in the NFL.
Yeah, Laura, comps are always fun. Everyone always agrees with every comp that we make, so this is so much fun for me. But Cam Ward is the top quarterback in this draft. When I watch him play, I see Jordan Love from the Green Bay Packers. Arm strength, he's got plus mobility out of the pocket. Also, he's going to need a little bit of time. He's got to speed up his process a little bit at the next level. Coming out of college, there was a lot of times where he was able to drift in the pocket and make some of his plays. He's going to have to get faster in the NFL. Sometimes he'll walk himself into a sack, but the arm strength, the velocity, the short stop motion that he has, really, really good from Cam Ward.
Yeah, look, I think from a body type and a throwing perspective, I see where you're going with this, but I'm more like a Patrick Mahomes type. He has all the different arm angles. He has the same kind of cannon type of arm, and he has plus mobility just like Patrick had coming out of Texas Tech. So that's what it reminds me of. And look, I think his ability to play on time is going to be something that he'll consciously be able to do, because he did it in Miami because he could, not because he had to. And I think Cam will understand that, look, you'll get one too many Rydells stuck in your rib cage in terms of helmets if you start doing that in the NFL level. But I think he's going to rip it up once he gets to the next level for sure.
All right, next up, Matt, Shedeur Sanders. Who does he remind you of?
Yeah, Shedeur, it's the play from the pocket. It's the surgical accuracy, the ability to see the field. I see Jared Goff, and I'm a Jared Goff fan. A lot of people are going to see this and be like, really? Jared Goff has been playing great football since he got to Detroit. If folks haven't noticed what he's done with the Lions up there, but the pocket toughness, the ability to just stand in there, like Lou said, you're going to get a Rydell in the ribs, but you're going to stand in there, you're going to take those shots, you're going to give your guys time to make that final move to get open, and he throws his guys open. He's the most accurate quarterback in this draft class. Does he have the biggest arm? No, and he's not the biggest guy, but his ability to just put the ball exactly where it needs to be is the best attribute of any of those quarterbacks in this class.
Yeah, I see where you're going there with that one. I couldn't agree with you more as far as Jared's accuracy. Just from a movement perspective, body type perspective, he reminds me a little bit of, if you wanted another comp, he reminds me of peak Deshaun Watson in terms of when you spread the field out and you go four wides and you put him in the gun. This guy has enough mobility to buy time, but then his movement patterns just remind me of Deshaun when he was in Houston, Deshaun when he was in Clemson. Either way, you can't go wrong. People are overthinking it with this kid. He is going to be a hell of a pro, and if you don't draft him, you're going to be making a mistake.
All right, let's talk about Jackson Dart. Who is he most like in the NFL right now, Matt?
I think this is the toughest comp of the 50 I've had to do in this cycle, because Jackson Dart, really good player, but he doesn't have the ideal traits of some of these other guys that makes it easy to comp. So I went Bo Nix. It's that deep ball accuracy. I watched Jackson Dart in person against Arkansas. He didn't miss on deep throws. That's backed up on the film. He just knows how to put the right arc on it to feather the ball down the field to his guys. And then it is that tough ability to run. He's not a 4'4" guy. He's not 6'5", 230 pounds, but he can pick up tough yardage as a runner, and he has that 6'2", 225-pound body type. Now, I think his experience in college, going from USC to Ole Miss, playing under Lane Kiffin, there's some things he's going to have to clean up schematically, but I think Jackson Dart is much more ready to play early than a lot of folks have given him credit for.
Yeah. Again, agree with you. And I think his career arc and his development will be very similar to Bo's. And I think people have the same questions about him that they had about Bo when he came out of Oregon. Again, I always talk about movement patterns and body types. And when I've seen Jackson, I've seen him up close a couple different times now. He reminds me of Dak Prescott in terms of his body type. Thick lower body, thick quads, kind of sturdy. A guy who's not real fast, but he's strong. He's tough as hell. He can take a beat, and he continues to come back over and over again. Great teammate. Everybody loves him down there. Great leader. Yeah, again, you're getting a quality quarterback. You draft Jackson Dart. But I think that's a good comp there with Bo Nix as well.
Yeah, his pro day is this week. A lot of teams will be .com. All right, let's take a look at the NFL quarterback landscape right now. Seats are getting filled quickly, okay? Now that Russell Wilson signed with the Giants, Justin Fields, he's with the Jets, Geno Smith with the Raiders, and that doesn't leave many spots for Aaron Rodgers. You see the blank faces over there to the side. We're going to now look to the Browns and Titans, who both have an option to draft a quarterback in the top two. Then the Steelers, who seem to be one of the only options for A-Rod. Take a listen to Steelers leader Cam Hayward last week on the Rodgers situation.
I ain't doing that or darkness retreat. I don't need any of that crap. Like, either you want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler or you don't. That's simple. That's the pitch. Like, if you want me to recruit, that's the recruiting pitch. Pittsburgh Steelers. If you want to be part of it, so be it. If you don't, no skin on my back. I want to play football. I'm tired of talking about the quarterback situation. I'd rather have it done. I'm ready to move on in the free agency. There's too much going on.
So that was last week. Today, Hayward was on NFL Network and clarified those comments. Take a listen to how it's changed now.
I was asked the question of, would you go to the lengths of going to a darkness retreat to recruit Aaron Rodgers? I said, I'm not doing that. The pitch is, if you want to be a Steeler, be a Steeler. That's all it was. It wasn't meant that I don't like Aaron Rodgers. I'm against it. If you come to the Pittsburgh Steelers, the goal is to win. We haven't had the success we want, but the goal is still in mind to raise the Lombardi and bring that seventh one to Pittsburgh.
Oh, man. The tunes are changing, Adam. How does this latest Giants move impact Aaron Rodgers in this situation, and where do the Steelers stand in all of this?
The Steelers are waiting for an answer from Aaron Rodgers, and he hasn't given them one yet, and so nobody knows exactly what Aaron Rodgers is doing. I have had people say to me they wonder if Aaron Rodgers is even going to play this year. Don't know the answer to that, but the fact of the matter is he was with the Steelers for 6 hours on Friday, meeting with their coaches. He's known of the Steelers' interest all along. They've wanted him, and here we are in late March. He's yet to commit to them. Right now, that's his only option, Pittsburgh or not playing. And he hasn't committed. So if he's not committing to Pittsburgh, the other option is sitting out, retiring, waiting around in the hopes that maybe one day the Minnesota Vikings job does come open at some point in time, or there's another opportunity with another contender. But right now, I think there are questions about whether Aaron Rodgers would go to Pittsburgh or whether he would continue playing. And until we hear from him, we don't know actually what will happen. But I can tell you, in talking to people, that seems to be the belief. It's Pittsburgh or it's not playing.
All right, you may have noticed that Booger McFarland joined the show, so welcome, Boog. We're so glad to have you. And one of my favorite things about watching Cam Hayward talk was your smile while he was talking. What do you think about all of this, and what should happen with the Steelers?
Well, that's kind of how everybody feels, Laura. I think that Cam Hayward, from the standpoint, he's speaking for pretty much everybody on that team, maybe outside of the offensive coordinator and the head coach. Like, at some point, man, if you're Aaron Rodgers, decide if you're going to play or not. I think at this point, the juice is not worth the squeeze, but I get it. You give DK Metcalf $150 million. You got George Pickens. You have Pat Freiermuth. You got to have somebody competent to throw the football. No disrespect to Mason Rudolph, but enough is enough. If you want to play football, let's play football. Like the dog and pony show of Aaron Rodgers, we've seen this his entire career. And every time we as a network are mesmerized, when is he going to sign? Where is he going to play? What's he going to do? I'm like Cam Hayward. I'm over it because the dude, quite frankly, is not the Aaron Rodgers that we used to know, the 4-time MVP. And I get it. He may be the best and only option for the Steelers, but let's stop acting like this dude is the second coming of what he was 10 years ago, because he's not. And I think that's what you hear from Cam Hayward, and most likely you hear from a lot of leaders on that team, Lou.
Yeah, Boog, I don't think anybody believes he's the second coming anymore. I think everyone knows where he's at in his career. I think people do believe, relative to the Pittsburgh situation, though, that he offers an upgrade. He offers an upgrade over what they had a year ago and what they've had in recent years. And I think that's what people are after, as far as the people who are really Pittsburgh Steelers fans and Pittsburgh Steelers supporters. And I think the thing is, though, what's interesting about this, look, I said all along, I think they need one another. I think Aaron needs an organization like Pittsburgh at this point in his career, and Pittsburgh definitely needs him. There are a lot of people, and it's not a scientific poll. I didn't go out there and poll 1 million people or 500,000 people. But I've had enough people who I know who are Pittsburgh Steelers fans and some who I don't know who are Steelers fans who have hit me up and been like, we're tired of this. We're done with this. Like, why doesn't he want to play? Why doesn't he want to play for us? Why is he taking so long? And I'm telling you, I have not heard a single person go, hey, let's just wait. We should continue to wait. We should be patient with this. People are tired of it. I don't know if Aaron cares about that. I just know people are tired of waiting. And look, Cam is trying to kind of walk it back and go, hey, look, man, we're the Steelers. Of course we would want you. Of course you would represent an upgrade. We're trying to win games. We have a storied history, et cetera, et cetera. But underneath, he's sitting there going, do I really have to go back and clarify this? We all know what I'm really thinking. We all know what everybody's thinking. Just make a damn decision. And it's hard, man. You're seeing people twist themselves in pretzels trying to kind of play to this man as far as, trying to get him to decide, while at the same time you can hear in the back of their mind they're sitting there going, we're over it. We're over it, man. Just decide if you're going to do it or not.
I will peel back the curtain just a little bit here because, it's our jobs to talk about the news, and that's what we do. But it's not like we're all really loving talking about this, okay? Like, Boog, you say the whole network's mesmerized by this. Nah, I don't know about that. Maybe I'm speaking for myself.
We talk about it like Aaron Rodgers is going to win the MVP next year. Everybody's tired of it. Make a damn decision and move on, dude. Come on.
All right. We told him. Okay, the other spot that some have considered to still open is Minnesota. And this is where, we've wondered if Aaron Rodgers could be in the mix there. The Vikings GM spoke today, was asked about the possibility of signing Rodgers, considering J.J. McCarthy is the only quarterback on the roster. Here's what he said.
Where we are scenario-wise, we didn't think it was the right move at this time. It is also his decision to whether he signs with another team, not. That's ultimately up to another player. For me to sit here and say that, anything's 100% forever, that's just not the job, right? Obviously things can change, but right now we're really happy with our room and we're going to look to upgrade it in different ways. But for now, we're really excited.
Is J.J. McCarthy the guy you guys think is going to be QB1?
You guys all talk in terms of QB1 and all those conversations, different things like that. When we pull the resources we did to draft JJ and you go through that long process and all those things, I can't stand up here and say that's the outcome we want, and that's the outcome we're headed towards. At every checkpoint, whether it been the draft process or practice until the injury, or really the offseason now, he's met the bar. I mean, he's exceeded our expectations at every point.
So, Adam, maybe the door slightly left open still for Rodgers, Minnesota. You think that happens?
No, I don't think it happens, but yes, the door is open there. Like, they didn't shut it. They didn't say this is not happening. They keep saying at this time, not right now. And that is the plan. At this time, not to sign Aaron Rodgers. Not right now to sign Aaron Rodgers. But what happens if they go to training camp, and what if they're not really pleased with how J.J. McCarthy looks? What if Aaron Rodgers is still sitting out there? There's a lot of ways this still can unfold. No, I don't think they're thinking about signing Aaron Rodgers. I don't think that that's what they intend to do, but they also have not completely dismissed it and said it's not happening. And in a way, that's Kwesi Adolfo-Mensa's job, is to make sure that he's always looking to upgrade the roster. And if there's a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers who's out there who has been interested in going to Minnesota, then why would you not keep that open? So they're not ready to completely squash it right now, but they keep using qualifiers that make you wonder if in time there's a scenario that could happen where maybe Aaron Rodgers could wind up there.
Barring health, J.J. McCarthy is going to be the starting quarterback. And I get the qualifiers and all those things. I'll tell you guys a quick story. My second year in Tampa, I was second team behind Brad Culpepper. They cut Brad Culpepper. I knew the moment they cut Brad Culpepper, I was the starter. Nobody needed to call me and tell me I was the starter. They didn't need to proclamize that I was going to be the starter. They didn't need to put in the newspaper that I was going to be the starter. I had some common sense. The guy that I was backing up, they cut, so I knew I was next in line. Regardless whether they announced J.J. McCarthy as the starter or not, they drafted him 10th overall. If his health is good, he will be the starting quarterback, bar none.
Tell him, Boog. I mean, here's the thing, guys, as we go to break. I'm not trying to say I have any idea what's going on in Aaron Rodgers' head, but you do wonder if the wait here has something to do with him just seeing if that door in Minnesota could open up a little bit wider, much better situation potentially for him. All right, we got to go. We got more to get to. Sorry, ABC's coverage focuses on the prospect's journey to the draft. Don't miss all of that. All right, we saw Cam Ward's pro day earlier this week. A look at Lewis with Cam Ward. You got to spend some time with him, Lou, and I think you really enjoyed the conversation, but also enjoyed watching him work out in front of all the teams that were there, most notably the Tennessee Titans. And you had some information about that. So let's talk about Cam Ward a little bit more and what really impressed you, Lou.
I think from a physical perspective first, Laura, since that's what everyone's always so interested in. Look, you have to always get up close with these guys and be right next to them when you actually see them moving in the pocket and throwing the football. And just let me tell you, I have not seen a quicker release on anybody. And I've seen a lot of pro days, guys throwing the football. Cam Ward's release is like lightning fast. Lightning fast. And he's got so much juice on the ball and can flick it so quickly and put it where he wants so quickly. I'm telling you, when people talk about arm talent, I don't like to use that word very often. This guy has it, though. He has ridiculous arm talent. On top of that, when you talk to him about the person and to talk to him about his story, about his journey from Incarnate Word to Washington State to Miami, being a zero-star recruit, I got to meet his mom and his dad and talk to them for a little while. He has a chip on his shoulder, Laura, that's never going to go away. It's never going to go away no matter what pick he has made. It's never going to go away. He's never going to get comfortable. And that's why I'm telling you, if I'm the Tennessee Titans right now, I know come year 1 or year 10, this dude's going to approach it the same way, and that would help me sleep at night.
Yeah, I love it, Lou. You can kind of see this process of them really falling in love with Cam Ward. And again, as Adams told us throughout the show, that #1 pick could be for sale, but they're going to have to come with a whole lot, these teams that would be interested. All right, Boog, we talked about it earlier, but we didn't have you with us yet. So what is the biggest impact of Stefon Diggs signing with the Patriots?
Well, first of all, health withstanding, I think everything I said follows, is that if he's healthy, this is going to open up the field for Drake May, because when you're a young quarterback, you need an outlet valve. You need the ball to be able to come out of your hands really quickly. Usually that's a tight end that can work the middle of the field, but for New England, that can be Stefon Diggs, somebody that can win quickly, create separation. The one thing that a quarterback needs to see is separation for his receiver from the defensive back. That lets him know when to throw the football, and there's nobody that can separate when they're healthy like Stefon Diggs. So if he's healthy, Drake May will have somewhere to go with the football really, really quickly, and I think that's going to help his development immensely.
Yeah, I'm excited for Drake May here. All right, Adam, the NFL Competition Committee is going to keep recommended keeping the new kickoff rule, but moving the touchbacks to the 35-yard line, incentivizing more returns. We'd love to see that. What do you expect to come out of this proposal?
Well, that's exactly what they're trying to do, Laura. They want to see more kickoffs this year. They were happy with the rule change. They want to make the dynamic kickoff permanent, but they want to do it with the one change that the touchback now comes out to the 35, not the 30-yard line. And that means teams would want to put more kicks into play to avoid those touchbacks. The owners' meetings next week, we'll see if that rule does get passed. Certainly sounds like it has a real chance to.
All right, they're still tinkering with it, so we'll see if that comes to play. But all right, we'll see if we hear from Russ. We're waiting on that. But Adam, what happens at #3 as we talk about the draft implications here? If the quarterback the Giants like is not there, how does this impact their draft now that they have Russ?
I think that they went and secured the position for this season, but the team still is interested in securing the long-term future of the quarterback position if the right guy is there at the right time. We think that they'll have an interest in moving up at some point in the draft. Going to be very hard to do that. It's going to have to be an offer that Tennessee can turn down. The real question would be, if the Giants stay at 3, would they consider Shedeur Sanders, or do they view the other talents like Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter as more appealing?
Yeah, Lewis, when you think about those levels of talent, right, we know what you feel about Cam Ward, but if you're the Giants, is Shedeur the right answer there for them? Or for you, would you rather get somebody like an Abdul Carter or a Travis Hunter at that spot?
Look, I believe in Shedeur, okay? I know enough about him and know enough about how his father has coached him and brought him along and has kind of molded him into the person that he is right now, and then how he was coached at Colorado and who he was coached by at Colorado, to believe that, look, just like any other quarterback, if you protect him, you give him a run game, you get him a complement of weapons, you play good defense, this guy's going to make the right decisions. He's going to put the ball where it needs to be put. He's going to be a guy who's going to dedicate himself to his craft, and he's someone who has got enough talent in order to really be a guy who can win you games and not be the person, you're going to be able to win because of him, not in spite of him, is really what I'm getting, is the point I'm getting at. I think Shedeur has that kind of talent. And so, look, I think he's the kind of guy who, if you believe that 3 is too pricey for you, then, subjectively, then you can believe that. I personally, given my exposure to the young man and understanding his journey, believe that, look, if I had all those things in place and I felt as though I could provide him with all those things, Laura, 3 wouldn't be too high of a price to pay. Because if he goes in there and he's a guy who can win 8, 9, 10, 11, somewhere between 10-plus games and have you in contention to be, a division winner, no one's going to give a damn whether you picked him at 3 or whether you picked him at 23. They're not going to care. It's just whether or not you feel as though he can ultimately reach that ceiling. And if you don't, then you don't pick him. It sounds to me like they don't believe he can reach that kind of ceiling. But I believe that he can.
All right, new on NFL Live, we're going to go live to Russell Wilson, who's speaking with the New York media right now for the first time since joining this Giants team.
At the facility, but also to some of the guys I've admired playing against, guys like Dexter Lawrence and guys like Burns and other guys that you get to admire, guys I've actually played with, guys like Chris Manhertz and Dolchich and many others. And then watching this, freak of an athlete and Neighbors I mean, this guy, when he touches the ball, he may score every single time. And so he's been exciting. I've gotten to talk to him along the way. He's fired up, and we just have had a lot of good conversations so far. And we're just really excited to get to work. I'm excited about the young guys, guys like Theo and what he can do, and the experienced guys like Darius and his ability to get down the field and make plays. I think I talked to Jalen Hyatt today a little bit too. I just think that he's a guy that's been untapped in terms of what he knows he's capable of. And so it's just been a really good process. And there are many others, Wan'Dale Robinson, he's like a running back. Every time he touches the ball, it's hard to tackle. His ability to make people miss, his catch, his ability to get away from guys, and his escapability. I've played with some guys like that before, and there's many others along the way. Obviously, the backs and what they're able to do. They're so young and talented, but and then the guys up front. It always starts with the guys up front, what they're capable of. And seeing a guy like Andrew Thomas in the weight room, doing squats and doing everything he was doing the other day, and just being around him a little bit. Guys like GVR, and just talking to different guys along the way. It's just been a really smooth process that's given me a lot of confidence. Obviously, this fan base, talking to Mr. Mara himself and them, and just the whole staff, and it's been really special.
And maybe then, what did the Giants, explain to you about your role and what they're expecting from you here? And do you expect to be the starter, or you have to compete for that?
Oh, I kind of wanted to hear that answer. All right, we'll see if we can hear exactly what he said. I think we're going to go back to it in just a second, because that was actually, Adam, my question I was going to ask to you is, what are the expectations for Russ? Has he been told he's definitely the starter? And he'll answer this soon, but what do you know about it, Adam?
Well, let's give you a little sneak preview. I think Russell Wilson expects to be the Giants' starting quarterback on opening day. He doesn't choose to come to New York over Cleveland without the idea that he's going to be the starter, and you follow the money. And even though they're giving him only $10.5 million guaranteed, that is more money than they're giving Jameis, and more money than the rookie quarterback probably would be making this year. And so, yes, I think Russell does expect to be the starting quarterback for the New York Giants this season.
Oh, wait, Adam, you said rookie quarterback. Maybe they are getting a quarterback now. Just kidding. I see what you were doing. All right. Boog, go ahead. What do you think?
Here's the thing I love about Russ. He's got the scouting report down. He's learned everybody's name. I mean, he may not be able to play up to par, but his press conferences are legendary. Like, when you leave the press conference feeling like, we got a guy, we got a professional. He is amazing at the mic. Now, if only the play can match his political stance or his ability to show you at the mic, that'll be outstanding.
All right. I believe we have the answer now to what Russ said when asked about the Giants' expectations and what he thought he'd be expected to do.
Yeah, I expect to be the starter and come in here and be ready to rock and roll every day. I think to be able to lead, I think this team's really looking for somebody to lead them in every way in terms of the process, in the off season, during the season, our habits and our thought process, and how we create a great winning